Support for This News is So Gay comes from the LGBTQ Opportunity Fund of the Cleveland Foundation, leveraging philanthropy to empower LGBTQ communities. Welcome to This News is So Gay. I'm your host, Ken Schneck, editor of The Buckeye Flame, Ohio's LGBTQ newsroom. Thanks so much for joining us. Highlighting here at the top of the show, it is the Buckeye Flame's 6th birthday, and we are celebrating all month. We need your support to keep the flame burning bright. So do what listener Paul did this morning and become a recurring donor to our scrappy queer nonprofit newsroom, and it will support our journalism, which includes This News is So Gay. Just head on over to thebuckeyeflame.com and click donate. And speaking of This News is So Gay, here's what we are covering on this week's brand new episode. It is Pride Month. Happy Pride all. There are events aplenty. How does Pride Month affect the life of a queer journalist? We're going to find out. GLAAD released their social media safety index and platform scorecard. Is there any good news to be found there? I'm not sure that there is, but we'll find out. It's not just Pride Month, but it's also, summer. What queer culture content should you be watching and reading this summer? And of course, queer joy. Where is our roundtable finding queer joy in the news right this very second? Joining us this week to answer those questions and so many more, managing director and editor of News is Out, a pioneering national collaborative of the leading local queer news publishers, of which the Buckeye Flame is proudly an affiliate, Dana Piccoli. Dana, welcome back to This News is So Gay.
Thank you, and happy anniversary, Buckeye Flame.
Thank you. Do you know that we were told to say happy birthday instead of happy anniversary, and I still have no idea why. So I will take
happy birthday, Buckeye
I think
Flame.
it's silly. I'll take it any way I could get it. Thank you, thank you. And host of The Gailey Show, airing every weekday on AM 950 radio in Minneapolis and WCPT 820 in Chicago, John Parker. John, welcome back to the podcast.
Happy birthday, Ken. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Happy Pride to you both. Our LGBTQ Reporters Roundtable is now assembled, so let's dive in. So here we are. It is our first episode of Pride Month. It's actually our first ever episode of Pride Month because we launched last July, so that's very exciting. How does Pride Month affect queer journalists? Dana, is the work different for you in June?
Yes and no. I mean, the work is always the same, right? It's spread the word about News is Out, collaboration, queer media. But Pride is certainly a fun time for us and a time for reflection. So, for example, I got to do a piece on queer perfumers to support this Pride Month, but also I'm working on a piece about how Pride looks different this year for a lot of people. Several smaller and medium-sized prides are not happening this year. I know you've covered this.
Yeah.
And some of the giant prides have lost a tremendous amount of support. So it's kind of bittersweet in a lot of ways.
We definitely have seen a couple small Pride celebrations drop off and then get pushback when they cancel because people are saying, okay, fine, you have one or two drag performers, do it anyway. Do the Pride anyway. Stop using big city standards for small rural prides. So that was kind of fascinating. John Parker, how about for you? Pride Month, yay or nay?
Well, always yay to Pride Month. I don't really find a difference. I think for us specifically, it's the amount of live broadcasts that we do. So we do 2 days of live broadcasting just at Twin Cities Pride, and then we're going to be at Golden Valley Pride as well this year broadcasting. So I think there's more live events. And I guess I also feel okay not doing hard news during Pride.
I love that.
Does that make sense?
Right. It's just bus, club, another club, another club.
Yes, exactly. Like culture, arts, entertainment, there's a new food at the Pride. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I don't get as much flack for doing non-hard news, shall we say.
Yeah.
Even though I have had some folks be upset that I wasn't covering police violence at a Pride when we were going live. And I'm like, just come back on Monday. I covered that.
It's coming up, folks.
All the time.
It's
Can I eat
up.
my macarons, please?
Your gay macarons.
Exactly.
Exactly. I love that. All right. Well, there are a few pride stories out there. There's tons of pride stories out there. Let's just get to a couple of them. John, a pretty cool pride story in your neck of the woods there in the North Star State. I had to look up what the state was called. Tell everybody what's going on in Pine City, Minnesota.
So let's preface this by saying that Pine City has a population of just over 3,000 people, but they were the first city to have a rural LGBTQ plus pride event. And it was in 2005 at Voyager Park. It was organized by the East Central Men's Circle. And I think it was interesting that the Minnesota Historical Society, which was the organization that vetted it and then said, yes, this was the first one, and we're going to give you a memorial for that. So there's now a literal physical plaque that you can go and see. It's the traditional signage that you get from the Minnesota Historical Society. And they went through like a process to make sure that there was no other city or town in rural America that could claim the title. And they got through it. Even the Clean Water, Land, and Legacy amendment helped to fund the process. And so, yeah, last Thursday, which was May 28th, I believe, they had a celebration. There was a picnic, hamburgers, hot dogs, and desserts, which was, really fun. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to go to it, but, such as it is. But I also want to mention Randy. Randy Olson was one of the critical people to make this happen, and he had actually passed away before the event. And so the dedication ceremony on Thursday also honored him. There were members wearing buttons that had his face on it. And one last fun fact that I will share with you about Pine City. This is from Williams Institute data.
This is real.
This is real. Pine City has the highest percentage of same gender couple households in non-metro rural Minnesota.
Wow.
Yep.
Who knew? Can I just also take this opportunity to implore not just our journalist colleagues, but also anybody who's listening, please, please go to a rural pride celebration. We just published our pride guide for 2026. There are about 150 events on the whole list for this entire summer. And yes, it's amazing to go to Cleveland and Columbus and Dayton, and those are amazing prides, and please go to those. But Columbiana County Pride, there's a new pride celebration in Adams County, which I had to look up. Turns out it's an actual place that's like a few hours east of Cincinnati. And these rural pride celebrations, there's really nothing like it. So please, please go to rural pride celebrations. Now, Dana, it is also the season to talk about the relationship between pride and corporations, but a super interesting take on a pride collection from our friends at Levi's.
Yes. At a time where a lot of corporations are pulling back or becoming, I like to call them silent partners in Pride, Levi's is just doubling down. So this might be my favorite Pride collection in years. This isn't one of those kind of slap a rainbow with some platitudes on a t-shirt situation. I mean, I'm fine with those.
Sure.
Some support is better than none. But Levi's went and really did their research. So their 2026 Pride lineup is called Together We Ride. And it's inspired by queer motorcycle clubs like the Satyrs and the San Francisco Rainbow Motorcycle Club. And they have these really cool wax-coated vests and denim jackets, of course. But they worked with the GLBT Historical Society as well on this collection, and it feels really well curated and thoughtful. Unfortunately, the chaps are no longer available. Those are sold out. We missed the boat on those.
By the way, I have absolutely no idea what a wax-coated vest is. Is that something that I should know?
So it's kind of reminiscent of the leather vests.
Okay.
And so it's waterproof, and it just kind of makes the material, it's like on the cotton and denim, it just makes it more structured and almost feel more leather-like.
Okay. Dana, how many motorcycles have you been on in your life?
3.
3. John Parker?
I had a
He's
mini
pondering.
bike growing up.
So John
None.
Parker, like Ken Schneck, I've never been on a motorcycle before.
I needed a new jean jacket, so I'm immediately going to Levi's website after that.
Well, might I also recommend a wax-coated vest because I recently learned about those. So there you go. Some pride stories. Let's pivot a little bit to a few stories that are maybe not so uplifting. Dana, GLAAD released their social media safety index and platform scorecard. This is the part of the show where you tell me that, according to the results of the scorecard, everything is great for the LGBTQ community online.
Oh, Ken. Well, it's not surprising. It continues to be disappointing, but it's not surprising that things continue to get a little bit worse when it comes to safety on social media for the LGBTQ community. All platforms, with the exception of TikTok, lost even more points from 2025 when it came to policies regarding LGBTQ plus safety, privacy, and expression. Perhaps the biggest disappointment of the report was YouTube, which dropped 11 points from the previous year. So according to GLAAD, it's because it no longer contains an explicit exception for LGBTQ plus people using LGBTQ plus related slurs in a self-expressive manner. But I want to give a shout out to GLAAD for this often thankless but very vital work.
We love our partners at GLAAD. My obsession these days are our colleagues in legacy media newsrooms who are doing absolutely nothing to moderate their comments on
Mm.
Facebook. This is my new obsession. We had just last week a really just tragic murder of one half of a gay male couple in the Columbus area. And the way that our colleagues put that story up and did nothing to address just the rampant homophobia and rumors and everything that was happening in that particular situation. And the response I got back today was, oh, yeah, these legacy newsrooms have no responsibility to moderate comments. And I'm sitting here like, I sit and block people all day long. It's not the best use of my time, but I don't know. I block people all day long. Do we not think that there should be some moderation from the newsrooms in the comments?
Did they do that though on their websites?
You know that most of these sites just don't even allow comments anymore on their websites.
That's true.
Right, that is kind of becoming a thing. Are you talking about mainstream press in general?
I am.
Yeah, because I think that LGBT press is more cognizant of like violent types of behavior.
I think we're better.
Yeah, that we're going to say this is not healthy. Also we want people to be able to express themselves, but like there are guidelines. I think that a lot of places put in place that if this is violent hate speech, like this is not something we're going to be comfortable leaving up there. But yeah, I mean, I've seen it. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen it a lot.
Not helping the scorecard.
May I add to the YouTube part of things?
Mm.
Because that is a platform that we've been exploring of like, if we wanted to expand beyond broadcast, would that platform make sense to us? And it's not just their policies that's problematic right now. They are tinkering with their algorithm. And I've also seen
Mm.
this with other very established shows who are progressives. Like they're not queer, they're just like progressives. They've got millions of subscribers. And as of this spring, they're like, what is going on here? They're like, our view rates are tanking. Like I posted a video, a short with Perry Zern, who just came out with an amazing book unpacking the word cisgender, right? And the concept of cisgender. And so I just put as the headline, does cisgender make sense? That video has a tenth of the views. I had one where I remember I said like MAGA hates it when I say this about conversion therapy, which is like what everyone's like, have a bold, big, thing. And that thing got like single digit views. I finally had to take it down because it was like it's dragging down on the algorithm. So they're not only doing bad things with their policies, they're doing something with the algorithm as well. And they already have a history of in the search results pushing down LGBTQ creators so they can't get money.
Mhm.
It's a very problematic platform right now.
All right, so TikTok is the way that we need to go. We're going to develop
Yeah,
some sort of
no.
presence on TikTok.
I
Yeah.
can see the look on Dana's face right now, and I'm like, I feel you, Dana. Mm-mm.
We're seeing that it's better than most.
Yeah.
Certainly, X,
Oh
I left
gosh.
X 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
I left it recently. I got rid of my own personal account. I put up Buckeye Flame stories on there in the event that maybe two people might read it on there. Fine. That's two people who wouldn't have read it otherwise. But I just deleted my own account really recently because I'm thinking, what am I doing? I'm trying to convince Representative Gary Click that I am right. And Representative Gary Click, this Baptist fundamentalist Ohio State representative who is my arch nemesis, has never listened to a single thing and he's like the only reason I'm on there is to interact with him. So I got rid of my account. It was just silly. And TikTok, ask me again in a couple weeks. Our intern starts tomorrow, and that's really what her focus is going to be, is
Right.
training us to actually be competent on TikTok. Right now, not so much. So let's continue, though, some of the perhaps not so great news. John, you and your Gailey Show executive producer, Jim Pounds, you guys had a very interesting interaction because I like when you two disagree, I will say. Because is it fair to say that sometimes you two do disagree?
I think we disagree more often than we agree.
Okay. It was a fascinating discussion on Representative Julie Johnson. Tell everybody about Representative Johnson and why her story is significant right now.
I actually want to start this story with David Hogg. So David Hogg was elected to a like vice chair role with the DNC last year, and he basically got ousted because he said that Democrats, like existing Democrats in the House, should be primaried. If they're not on board with change, they need to be primaried and they need to get out of there. The whole gerontocracy thing, right? People who have been there for decades. And that was basically like, no. And they ran him out of town. And I will mention that Ken Martin, who is the current head of the DNC, was the head of the Minnesota DFL, Democratic Farmer Labor Party, is what we call it here in Minnesota. I won't get into Ken right now. So along comes MAGA, along comes a spider, and they obey Trump and they say, we're going to get rid of 5 Democratic districts in Texas. Well, the way they did that, they basically undid Representative Julie Johnson's seat in Texas. And she was not only the first queer person to be elected to a House seat in Texas, she was the first one in the entire South.
Mm.
Yeah. And she was brand new. She'd only, this was 2 years she'd
Right.
only been?
Exactly. And she was in the seat because Representative Colin Allred left his seat because he was going to run for the Senate. Ultimately had what a lot of folks call a very ho-hum campaign that didn't resonate ultimately with Texas voters, and he lost. He was going to do it again, run in the primary. And last summer he said, no, Representative Crockett getting in there and State Senator James Tallarico, I'm going to drop out of the race. So I'm going to run for my old seat, which actually isn't my old seat. It's like half of my old district. A lot of people were very confused why he was going to essentially primary an existing Democrat, Representative Julie Johnson, when they had literally just ran out of town David Hogg from the DNC for claiming that existing Congresspeople should be primaried and ousted. And so now we've got a situation where he won in a runoff last week. And the Equality PAC issued a statement saying that, hey, this was completely unnecessary and the queer community is watching. And now Representative-elect Allred, because doesn't have the seat, but will most likely have the seat based off of how the makeup of the district is in November. Representative, elect Allred needs to mend some fences here because this was completely unnecessary to do. Well, then journalist Josh Barrow, part of the community, the queer community, gets on social media and says, quote, oh my God, this kind of whining is so off-putting. Straight people are allowed to run for office, end quote.
Why did he do that?
Yeah. And then you've got Trey Easton, who's a former senior aide to Senator John Fetterman, who wrote, leave this shit in woke one, besties. Yeah, so we covered the story and we got into it, Jim and I, but I think that it's really weird how identity politics don't get to come into play when it's queer people that are saying we need representation here. Colin Allred ran for a race. They were basically the same. It got very contentious. in this race. It turns out that like Representative Johnson had like stocks in Palantir, and then when it came out, she like disinvested from it. And then, Representative Johnson was going after former Representative Allred, saying, you supported ICE. And he was like, well, I supported the Biden version of ICE, not this version. And we need to defund and get rid of ICE. I mean, it got really ugly by the end there. But he essentially went and ousted the only queer legislator in the entire South, and mainstream Democrats are going, "Who cares?"
We're going to keep our eyes on that one. We're going to keep our eyes on that one. But yes, I do like when you and Jim disagree.
It happens a lot, so you can tune in.
And we do.
It's why I always say that he's in the studio with me, because I'm like, you never know what's going to happen when Jim's here.
I love it. I love it. Well, sometimes I save the culture parts of our podcast for our quick queer culture question at the end of this week's episode. We do have one of those later on, but let's give queer culture a bit more attention here. Dana, I have a text that I received on May 27th, and the text reads this, quote, "If you do a feature on the great queer films coming out this summer, I'm your gal." That did not come from John Parker. That came from Dana Piccoli. Dana, tell us what great queer films are coming out this summer.
Well, I'm glad you asked because I love talking about this. And perhaps I'd say the biggest drop of this Pride season is Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma, which stars Hannah Einbinder and Gillian Anderson.
Love.
This is Jane Schonbrun's newest after her hit with I Saw the TV Glow. And Camp Miasma is a fictional horror franchise that Einbinder's character is tasked with directing the latest installment of. And she connects with the series' final girl, played by Anderson. Things happen. It descends into, I quote, a frenzy of psychosexual mania.
Wow. I just call that a Monday, but okay, that's what they're calling it. Jeez.
So we've got that, but we also have, there's multi-hyphenate Haley Kiyoko's first feature film coming out, Girls Like Girls, which is based off of her groundbreaking song of the same name and her recent first fiction novel. Hardest working lesbian in show business. And then there's Leviticus, which is a horror romance film out of Australia about two teen boys who have to deal with a demonic entity which takes the shape of each other, like as if being a queer teen isn't hard enough, right? And this is also a really big year of anniversaries. So Bound turns 30 this year and is going to be screening in select theaters.
30.
Desert
Wow.
Heart is 40.
No.
And has screenings happening. I have tickets to go see it here in Portland. And also the cult classic trans crime buddy flick By Hook or By Crook turns 30 this year and is getting a 4K theatrical restoration release. And from what I'm hearing, the restoration looks amazing.
By the way, I have absolutely no idea what that film is.
By Hook or By Crook, you got it. Yeah, I got to check it out. It's great.
Okay. All right. I'm going to check that out. And then, John, apparently we still have these things called, let me check my notes, books. These things called books. And you previewed some reading options on an episode last week. Tell us about an LGBTQ plus book that we should be reading.
Well, first of all, I will just say that we do author interviews literally every week, or at least it's rare when we don't have an author interview, and we've curated them into an entire playlist. So on YouTube or channel.
Nice.
So if
Love
you
it.
want to read a book, all of them, I think we're at 100 interviews right at this point. But Alana Masad is an author and critic, and I finagled Alana to join me once a month because she loves old school radio. And so she's like, "Oh, come on, anytime you want." And I'm like, "Oh, you shouldn't have said that, Alana."
Done.
So she comes on once a month and she brings on queer books with a theme for that particular month. And so this month, in honor of her new book that she's co-edited, called Here for All the Reasons Why We Watch The Bachelor, she put together a collection of 3 books that are queer, but looking at reality TV in the United States. So one is Dream Facades, the cruel architecture of reality TV, which is looking at the built environment of
Okay.
where reality TV takes place. This is by Jack Balderrama Morley. Then there's Patricia Wants to Cuddle by Samantha Allen, and Here for the Wrong Reasons by Annabelle Paulson and Lydia Wang. And that's all I'm gonna say for right now because you need to check out the episode with Alana and all of the episodes because she is an amazing critic and she has all the books and she regularly makes me crack up with her comp titles.
I want a monthly segment on the Gailey Show. What's my monthly segment going to be about?
Ken, you see, now you open the door. Now
I'm ready.
you're
I love that you do those segments. We had a conversation a couple weeks ago. Folks can go back and listen to the episode we did with Jake Wittick from Windy City Times and Jason Villamez from Philadelphia Gay News, because we really struggle on the newsroom side of doing articles about books. They are some of the least clicked on pieces that
oh yeah.
Yeah.
ever we could publish, to the point where I'm just uncomfortable telling fellow authors, I'm so sorry, this is just not going to necessarily go anywhere. And I think yours is the format by which you can really highlight the author. So I love that you do that. I love that you do that.
Send them all my way.
I will do so.
I'm not
That-
joking. I love talking to authors. So if they pitch you, just say, hey, you should talk to John at The Gailey Show, and I will absolutely interview them.
I'm so excited to have a direction I can point these
Yes,
folks.
for sure.
That's wonderful. Thanks, John. Well, right now, everybody, you are listening to This News is So Gay. I'm your host, Ken Schneck, from the Buckeye Flame, Ohio's LGBTQ plus newsroom. Joining me this week, Dana Piccoli from News is Out and John Parker from The Gailey Show. By the by, if you are not subscribed to This News is So Gay, I have absolutely no idea what you're doing with all your choices. Subscribe to This News is So Gay right this very second on your favorite podcasting app so that new episodes automatically make their way to you. Well, it is time, folks. It is time for Glitter Bomb. This is where our roundtable shares stories of queer joy that they are seeing covered out there in the news. So let's set off a Pride Month Glitter Bomb. Dana, give us a story of queer joy that we might not know about.
Oh my God, the WNBA this year is on fire. And excuse the pun, because Portland's team is the Fire. I live in the Portland area, and we finally got our WNBA team back after like a 20-year hiatus. They're doing amazing. And I have season tickets for this, and it is just the queerest show in town. It is just lesbian after lesbian after
it.
lesbian. I'm not a sports girl, and even I get all fired up for the Fire. So, and now knowing that they're actually getting paid a substantial raise from what they were receiving, it just, the vibe is off the charts.
Cleveland, we are getting our WNBA team back in just a couple years, but they are announcing the name this summer. So a
Oh, yes,
lot of
yes.
drama. We do not know what this
Ooh.
WNBA new team name is going to be. John Parker, give us some queer joy, please.
Yeah, I mean, there is one story that I'm going to be very curious in terms of a glitter bomb of all of the queerness that's going to happen when the World Cup comes to North America because Grindr is basically going to break for a month or 6 weeks, however long it is. Apparently, like there are a bazillion teams that are playing here. But I don't want to like preview your next question, but there's a particular album that's coming out the first week of July that is going to at least break my Spotify because I'm going to be playing it 24/7.
I have a prediction for what it is. Let's find out by saying, although summer solstice is still a few weeks away, Spotify is already taking votes on their song of the summer. So for this week's quick queer culture question, do you have a summer queer anthem? John, what is this album for which you are so excited?
My favorite Madonna album is Confessions on a Dance Floor. I don't know what it is about that particular album because, I mean, it's Madonna, right? So basically every album. But like Confessions is just up there for me. And she has a release coming out, which is Confessions Part 2, the first week. I believe it's like the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th. I don't know. And so whatever those songs are, those are going to be my anthem. And I also want to say the music video, if you haven't watched it, apparently from the original album, she's dancing in heels. And like she had just gotten like off of some sort of an accident or something, and like 3 days earlier. And she's doing that entire video on heels, dealing with an injury. I mean, it's Madonna, folks. It's Madonna. So
My jam from that album, and it's not even close, like it's not even close, is Let It Will Be. And
Oh,
that is my jam. And because I needed something extra to do with my life, because I was apparently bored, I am now a certified spin instructor. And next week's class at Everybody's Cycle here in Cleveland, I am doing a Cindy versus Madonna ride, and Let It Will be in there. But I got to tell you, I think Cindy kind of wins the battle that I am posing next week. So we'll see. Dana, give us a queer jam of the summer.
Well, number one, I have to tell you, Cindy, underrated. I Drove All Night. One of my
Always.
favorite Cindy's. I know
oh,
it's cover, but it's such a great cover.
yes.
For me, right now, I think it's going to be Truesdale's Both Can Be True. Now,
Okay.
I actually don't
Mm.
believe any of the members identify as LGBTQ, but I know they're massive allies. They've been huge supporters. I just love the simplicity of the lyrics paired with those incredible three-part harmonies. So I'm a sucker for Truesdale.
We're going to check that out. I don't know who that is. I'm learning so much. I am going to wear my wax-coated vest as I listen to Truesdale. Very exciting. Well, we want to hear what you both are working on. Dana, what's coming up for you at News is Out?
A lot of pride-centric pieces.
Yeah.
Plus, I have some behind-the-scenes things that I've been working on for a while that, cross your fingers for me, happen or get moved along. But, as soon as I have more information, I'll share that with you.
I'm excited to hear. John Parker, what's coming up at The Gailey Show?
Obviously, a lot of Pride content, but we have also been covering the 2026 midterms pretty specifically. And next week on June 11th, we're going to do an entire 45-minute sit down with Minnesota's Secretary of State, Steve Simon, about voting rights. Minnesota just got like the highest ranking in an MIT analysis of voting in the entire country. So we're going to sit down with him and talk about 2026, the midterms, voting access, automatic registration, the whole shebang.
Very exciting. And you're going to be debuting that new monthly segment on The Gailey Show featuring Ken Schneck. We don't know what it is yet, folks, but we'll figure it out. I am so appreciative to both of you. I love going into an episode knowing, oh, I know exactly how this is going to go, and it's going to go well. And that is thanks to both of you. Dana Piccoli, please keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I will.
John Parker, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to see both of you.
I'm Ken Schneck, editor of the Buckeye Flame. And if you liked this episode of This News is So Gay, please share it with a friend. Subscribe so that you do not miss out on our next episode. Send an email on over to editor@thebuckeyeflame.com. That's me, to let us know your thoughts, and rate and review us on your favorite podcasting app. Those ratings, those reviews really do make a difference. This News is So Gay is a product of the Buckeye Flame, a nonprofit newsroom. Become a recurring donor today for as little as $12.50 a month and help us celebrate our 6th birthday. Those recurring donations truly enable programming just like this from a scrappy queer newsroom just like ours. In the meantime, happy Pride Month, everybody. Remember to read LGBTQ+ news, share the stories of LGBTQ+ reporters, and support the work of LGBTQ+ newsrooms. Until next week, friends.